Let's get started.
All right, everybody, and welcome to episode number 4 of the bonus stage. I actually listened to some of your old bonus stage recordings today, Jeff. So I was going to open the show like you used to on the radio, but I thought that might weird you out or make you sad, so I didn't.
It would weird me out a little bit. Which, like, were you listening to the radio ones or like the YouTube ones?
The radio ones.
Oh, okay, well then they're not as bad. But...
No, but I was like, oh, I got to do this, and I was like, nah, I don't want Jeff to shed one single tear.
Especially when I'm on the camera.
Exactly. It's not that high resolution. You're just using the crappy eyesight in your Mac.
That's true, but I mean, like, there could be like some light sparkle. You know what? If it's audio, play all the stuff you want because I can cry here and nobody will know. I can just mute the mic.
I'll just turn your mic down for the rest of the show. We could do that.
I don't trust you to actually turn it off. I think I'll do it from here. Bye. Thanks.
Fair enough. My reputation precedes me, apparently. So, welcome to episode number 4 of the bonus stage. This is the podcast for all things video games, whether it's reviews, news, geek culture. We reviewed a web series, which is odd, and we want to do that again. So if it's gaming, it's here. So definitely tune in each and every week. 10 p.m. Central at vgpodcast.com/live is where you can catch it, or you can actually download it every week as an RSS feed or through an RSS feed as a podcast. You can do that over at vgpodcast.com/bonus, or just go to vgpodcast.com and check out all the other shows that we do on the podcast network. So this is the bonus stage, episode 4, as I said. Jeff, how are you? Did I introduce you, or no? I went right into I was going to open it like you used to, Jeff. Jeff, how are you doing? You're part of the show. I should let you talk. I am sorry.
Every once in a while, I'm part of the show. I think, I'm doing good. Tired as usual, and I know that I probably sound like a broken record every week, but just doing good. Didn't get a chance to play a lot of video games this week, which kind of sucks when you do a weekly video game show, but I did get to play enough, and I'm excited for the show as always.
Good. I mean, I get that all the time. I have kids and I work, and
that's not an excuse.
And there's times that I don't get a chance to play video games, so I feel you, Jeff.
Yeah,
I'm here for you, man. Well, this is your support network right here. Me and you. That's it.
That's a really awful network.
I know. If you don't like it, too bad, because that's all you got. All right. Well, let's get into the show. As always, we kind of break it up into 3 sections separated by music. I don't know if that's going to stay for very long, but people seem to like it, so maybe it will. The first section is kind of what we've been playing. We talk about all the games that have been in our various slots and areas on our devices. That sounded gross. That's not good.
Yeah, I don't know what you were going for.
You might catch something if you do that, so don't do that, kids listening at home. But we talk about all the games that we've been playing, and we let you know about them and whether you should go buy them. So let's do that first. Or actually, it's followed by reviews and then news. So if you're worrying about missing the reviews, they're later, and then the news comes right after that. So no worries, you're not going to miss it. If you listen from the start to finish, you'll get it all.
Yes. He's right.
Jeff,
I'm not sure if anybody understood what he was saying, but we're doing a show, and if you just listen to it all, you won't miss anything.
See, if you're watching the video, it looks like I'm drinking coffee, which has lots of caffeine, but no, it's tea, and it's decaffeinated tea, so it doesn't even have caffeine, and I'm acting like I'm all hopped up on caffeine for some strange reason. I don't understand.
Yeah, but there's like 4 shots of vodka in there, so.
Well, yeah, but that's not caffeine.
Actually, I believe that's how you make tea. Exactly.
That's vodka. For me, it's just I'm hyped up and I'm hyper. So, anyway, Jeff, what have you been playing, my friend?
Like I said, didn't get a lot of time to play video games this week. been working quite a bit, doing a lot of filming. And what I usually do when it's a week like this and I don't have a lot of time, but I still want to play some video games, is I just kind of go through the roundup of the Call of Duty games that I have on my shelf. So played a lot of Black Ops this week, actually, because the new multiplayer gameplay trailer for Black Ops 2 came out, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back to Black Ops and play it, and I've been having a blast, actually. It's really, for me, Black Ops was the first game that Treyarch got right in the Call of Duty series. Now, I know that World at War, pre all of this awful hacking, was a fantastic game.
Right.
It was just a game I never got into until it was way too late. So yeah, Black Ops is just a fantastic game and still is really fun to play. And that's kind of what I do when I've got like, a half hour or 45 minutes. I can go in and play like 5 or 6 games of Call of Duty, and that's kind of just where I get my video game kick for that day. And that's kind of why they're on the shelf to begin with, because the rest of the games on my shelf are like the Mass Effect trilogy, or Fable 3, or Skyrim, or what else am I looking at here? A game like Fallout New Vegas. Like, those are games that you need to devote like an hour and a half to minimum if you want to go in there and start playing them. And even then, that's like, you're briefly visiting a huge world. So I can't really play games like that on a week like this. So that's kind of why I'm a Call of Duty nerd. So that's another reason why I have it on the shelf.
Cool.
The other thing I've been playing, which I've been addicted to since I found out about it, I came really to this party, but CSR Racing on iOS. Around 3 weeks ago, I was at a friend's place in Stonewall. We were out for a barbecue, and my buddy Raymond was like, "You got to download this game. It's called CSR Racing." And I was like, it sounds kind of stupid, but he showed it to me. I was like, wow, that's awesome. And I've just been hooked. Clay in the chat room right now, we've been talking about it. It is an extremely addictive game for no other reason than it's like playing all the best parts of Fast and the Furious. It's all drag racing, and then you go back, you tune your car. You have to, almost an accident outside.
He was doing CSR outside your apartment, apparently.
Exactly. Great timing, guy outside. But on your iOS device, you'll have the throttle, which is like a little pedal, and you have to kind of feather the throttle into an area where it's like your prime real estate for taking off the line. So there'll be a little green light, and then you get that perfect start, and then you hold down your throttle, and then it'll just speed up, and then you touch your shifter when the light is green so that you get the perfect shift. And it's just really, really fun. There's really nothing to the game except perfect starts and perfect shifts, but there's a lot of tuning things and just buying upgrades. Right. One of the things we talk about on the show a lot is iOS games that take advantage of the player by saying, hey, the app is free, but you can only get this far until you have to pay. That is this game.
Evil freemium garbage is what we kind of complain about.
And that is in this game. The good thing, though, is that they do let you continue without having to pay a cent, but you have to grind a little, which isn't bad. You're playing the game a little bit longer than someone who doesn't grind. There are things that you can buy for premiums, and they're really not that expensive. But if you just wanted to play it for free, you can play it for free and still get a ton of enjoyment out of it. CSR Racing on the iOS is like a huge recommend for me. That's like a mini review right there. Fantastic.
Cool.
And then the last thing I've been playing, I've been playing a little bit of Minecraft on the Xbox, and I went back and played some on my Mac just because there was a new update for 1.3, and I wanted to check that out. There's been so much stuff updated in Minecraft since the last time I played it that it's almost too big to go in and just
it's an RPG now, essentially.
It's huge. Yeah, there's like crafting and enchanting and all this kind of stuff. It's insane.
Yeah. How's the Xbox version, by the way?
It's stripped down quite a bit.
Because I've been playing it on my iPad, and it's horrible. It's like it's like one of the first alphas that came out. Like, it's basically you break blocks, you collect blocks, you build stuff with blocks. They keep adding other features in, but it's not the PC version. It's not the Xbox version. I kind of really want that. It would be really awesome if I could set up a Minecraft server and jump into it from my iPad wherever I am. That would be amazing, but unfortunately, that's not the way you can do it.
I don't think the technology exists on the iPad for that to happen. Just because
it's coming, but yeah, it's really slow.
Yeah. The real interesting thing about Minecraft on the 360 is that if you've played Minecraft on the PC, there's absolutely no reason for you to pick up this, which is strange saying for me saying that because I have played Minecraft on the PC and I had it like in the early alpha stages. Like I adopted when it cost me $13, like a long time,
same here.
probably 2 years.
Yeah.
And I've been playing it ever since. But I wanted to try it on the 360 because of the fact that it's a lot easier for me to jump into an online match with friends. On the Mac, it's kind of a pain in the ass and has always been a real struggle to get into a multiplayer game. That being said, if you've never played Minecraft before, the 360 version is about as good as you can buy for an introduction to the game. It's got a great little tutorial. It's easy to play. It's stripped down a lot, but you know what? It doesn't overwhelm you, and apparently there are going to be free updates in the future, so that's good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's it for you?
Mm-hmm. What have you been up to?
All right, I've actually been playing a fair bit, which is surprising because I was on vacation last week. I went out to the lake and got back, and then it was a long weekend here, which is great. And then I went to work for a day, and then took Wednesday off. So I had like a 3-day work week this week, and I've been putting in a lot of time playing games. Actually, you've been playing a lot of games with my kids. I've talked about it before, Skylanders. We finally found the last 2 figures that we needed for the set. So now the kids are happy. They're not asking for any more Skylanders, and they've been playing battle mode. Like, they must have put in about 12 hours on battle mode. I went through 2 sets of batteries in my portal of power or whatever. So that's been crazy. Been doing a lot of that. But then I've also been playing like games for me. I picked up a game called Sound Shapes on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah, you told me about that earlier.
It's so much fun. It just came out. It's $15. And when you buy it, you get the PS3 version and Vita version as one download. So you get both. And it has cloud saving as well. So you can shoot your save game up to the cloud from your PS3 and then download it on your Vita if you happen to have both devices.
I gotta wonder how fast it is and hope it's faster than MLB The Show.
You know, I tried it. I don't have a Vita, of course, but I shot my save game up. So I went through that process, and it took maybe 5 seconds. It was really quick. Like, I went to the menu, hit it, and then it said preparing cloud save, syncing, and then it was like, okay, done. And I'm like, oh, okay. From what I've heard of MLB, it's like an arduous process. But it's not so bad on the PS3. But
Maybe
anyway,
it's got something to do with file size.
Could be. Definitely could be. There's really not much you're going to be saving, really. And what Sound Shapes is, I said it's $15. If you're a PlayStation Plus member, it's 20% off, so you can get it for $12, which is what I am and what I did. And it's part of the PlayStation summer promotion. So they have 4 games, a new game coming out once every week for 4 weeks. And the more games you buy, the more you get back as a credit. If you buy all 4, I think they credit you $10 that you can then use to buy another game, which isn't bad. It's like buy 3, get 1 free almost. Yeah. Which is pretty cool. But the only one that really interests me is Sound Shapes. I heard about this one at E3. There were some people that have been playing it. I think it was One Up that said it was like their game of show at E3, which was kind of weird because it's a downloadable title. And basically what it is it's a... have you ever played Rhythm Heaven on your DS?
Yeah, I actually have it. Actually, right
beside you.
Boom.
There you go.
An awesome game.
So take Rhythm Heaven with the great music, the great kind of quirky kind of mechanics, the kind of puzzly sort of things where you have to kind of figure out what to do, and turn it into a platformer. And that is exactly what Sound Shapes is. It's a music platformer. So everything you do in the game generates music. You don't generate music, so whatever you do, like jumping, doesn't do anything. You're just this little blob with an eyeball. But if you collect these coins, it becomes like this. Picture the screen as kind of like a tracker, like if you've ever done music. So there's like columns, and if you put notes higher up, they get higher. If you put notes lower down, they get lower. So when the levels are designed, there's notes all over, which are coins. You collect the coins, they activate that note. So as the thing comes and sweeps, you don't actually see the sweep, but anyway, as they go, it slowly starts building tracks. But in the game, there's other things that will generate noise. So there's enemies that move, there's cannons that will shoot at you, there's lasers and things like that. And it all generates noise, and it becomes a song. So by the time that you get to the end of the level, you've created a song, and you've played the song, which sounds weird, but it is unbelievable how into this I got. The really great thing about this game is there's real music in it, so it's not just like them generating 50 songs and throwing into the game. It has Deadmau5. It has I Am 8-Bit. It has Beck. It has Jim Guthrie. It has a bunch of other kind of independent kind of electronic chiptune kind of people that have made music for it. And it also has a bunch of graphic artists that have worked on games. So you have the Super Brothers game kind of style for that game with the Jim Guthrie songs. And then you have kind of these sort of, I don't know, urban sort of things for Beck, and you have like techno, like Space Invader-y kind of like retro arcade games for Deadmau5. The game is amazing. Like all those parts put together just make it into a game that I can't really stop playing. And if that wasn't enough, like there's I think 8 albums, and each album is done by different artists, and they all have a different art style. There's a bunch of levels that you can play and unlock. There's high score battles, basically when you beat the game, how fast and if you've gotten all the coins in the game, it ranks you, so you can have leaderboard battles with your friends and all that fun stuff. And on top of it, there's a full level editor, so you can take the game and you can make whatever you want. And when you make a level, you save it up to the cloud, and then it's available for anybody else to download. So you can go to the cloud song store, basically. It's not really a store, but it's kind of like the area where you get it.
Yeah.
And there's thousands of tracks already. Some of them are really horrible, but some of them are actually really good. People have taken like older Deadmau5 songs and done them in the game with the Deadmau5 theme. They've taken hits that are on the radio and converted them into some sort of version that is available in the game. So I don't know, for $12 or $15 if you're not a Plus member, I can't not recommend this to everybody. I have to recommend it to everybody. In fact, it's a game that go watch the trailer, check it out. It is so addictive. If you like rhythm action games at all, you'll be right at home with this game. If you played Rhythm Heaven on the DS or on the Wii, this is like the logical next step in the progression of kind of the genre. It is a really, really good game. I guess that's kind of a review, even though I didn't intend it to be.
Yeah. I always think that people that design games like this are way smarter than game designers should be. Taking in the scope of what you just said, the person who designed the tech of this game, where the game is constantly evolving and almost thinking and like composing music at the same time, it just seems like unfathomably difficult to put something like that together. And yet it was probably second nature for them, which is like very impressive. The price seems a little bit much to me, but you know what? Maybe does it have a trial, like a demo? Yeah.
You can just download the demo. I believe there is one. I think there is. I don't want to say yes because I'm not positive on that, but I think there is. But yeah, I mean, at $12, it's definitely worth the money. But if you don't like rhythm action, obviously that's not going to be something good for you.
I was a huge fan of Rhythm Heaven. I beat everything on the hardest difficulties because I'm a drummer, so it was like real second nature to me to beat that game, and like I got super addicted to it. And I don't even own a DS anymore, but I still kept the game. Actually, I still have a lot of games from my DS, but they're 3 Professor Layton's, A Golden Sun, and Rhythm Heaven.
Right.
Just my favorite games of the platform.
Cool. I'm just trying to get the trailer up and running on my other PC, which is why I'm kind of looking off to the side. I'm showing it right here. I don't think I'm going to be able to get audio, unfortunately. No, that is unfortunate, just because of the way that I'm doing things here. Let's see if I can edit this one.
Send your complaints to vgpodcast@gmail.com. Care of Lloyd.
Yes. Bastard.
We're just throwing each other under the bus this entire show. Yeah. That's what this show is going to be.
Makes it fun. Clay hears sound from the game?
I do not.
Oh yeah, okay. There it is. I just don't hear it here. I can't monitor it for some strange reason. But yeah, so you can hear it. So people that are listening to this recorded, you can hear it while I can't. And yeah, it's like some sort of quirky, really kind of bizarre puzzle game, but it is so good. It's I don't know. I'm so totally addicted to this game right now.
Awesome.
So Sound Shapes, definitely check it out. It is a lot of fun, and I really kind of dig it. All right, moving on. Some other stuff that I've been playing. I think I turned it off. Yes, I did. I had to not talk so I could see if there was actually audio coming out, which is really weird. I've been playing DeadLight on the Xbox 360, and we're going to talk about that one in a little bit. I've been playing Spelunky on the Xbox 360, which is a platformer / aggro, break your controller and throw it through a window kind of game.
I've heard of this game a ton from Albertine, a friend of mine. I have no idea what it is, but people are saying it's just so addicting.
Yeah, it's randomly generated. It's a kind of digging game. You're this little dude with pickaxe, and you can place bombs and climb ropes. You're kind of like an Indiana Jones kind of person. And each set of levels contains treasure that you can get, people that you have to rescue, and a start and an end. And you have to basically get to the end without dying. When you die, you start right at the start of the level again. So it's not super bad if you die, although you probably don't want to die because you have to get through about 4 levels, I believe, before you get to kind of a save area that saves your progress. So it's kind of like a mixture between like I don't know, Meat Boy, Super Meat Boy, and like a roguelike kind of thing where you kind of level yourself up, sort of. You get things, you get items, but if you die, you lose kind of all your progress. So it's fun. I don't know. It's kind of really frustrating in some areas though. So I don't know if I'm gonna progress too far in that game. It was great to check it out. It's been on the PC for a while. It was free. I believe you can still download a version of it for free because it was an independent game. It's not the current version, but it's a version. And
is it on the arcade or in the indie section?
No, it's Xbox Live Arcade, so it's a normal game. Costs you $10 or $12 or whatever to buy. I've only played the demo, and I think that's enough for me. I don't think I'm going to get too much further with that game. So
yeah, I should download the demo.
Yeah, so if you like games like that, kind of frustrating, break your controllers. If you have a large collection of controllers you don't know what to do with, this is a good game because you'll break them, and it won't matter because you have a large collection of controllers.
Send your broken controllers to vgpodcast@gmail.com, care of Lloyd Hennessy.
Yes, exactly. And the last thing that I've been playing is a incredibly huge pile of games that I bought.
Or as it says in the show notes, pile of cheap games. I really like how you wrote that.
Pile of cheap games is what I've been playing. Actually, I haven't been playing many of them. Most of them aren't even open yet. But I just kind of wanted to chat a little bit about this to kind of share a score that I had. In Winnipeg, or in Canada, we have a grocery store chain called Superstore. And they sell games. They're kind of like a Walmart. They sell a little bit of everything, but they have a game section. But apparently in Winnipeg, they're restructuring what they're doing with games. So instead of having a large game section with all games, they're keeping a smaller section that just has the current releases. And once the game isn't current anymore, they get rid of it. So I guess they decided to blow out every single game that they had for between $10 and $15. Mm-hmm. A buddy of mine told me about 6 hours after he found it, so I was kind of not so happy at that. I wasn't mad at him, but I could have got some better deals. They had like Mass Effect 3 for $15. They had pretty much any game that came out like 2 months ago was between $10 and $15, and they had copies of almost everything. So I could have picked up a lot of really great games. But I managed. I went down with Nick, my son, and I decided, since they're going to have crap shovelware kind of games, maybe I'll buy a bunch of games for the kids, stuff that I don't want to spend $60 on, because I don't want to pay $60 for a movie adaptation game of like Iron Man, because it's going to be horrible. But I picked them up for $10. So I picked up God of War 3, which was nice, $10. The God of War collection, so God of War 1 and 2 for $10, which was nice. The crappy movie games, Iron Man 2 picked up, and Green Lantern, which we've actually played a fair bit, and it's actually not that bad. I was really kind of surprised. It's not so bad if you pay $10 for it, but if you pay $60, it would not be that great. Transformers Dark of the Moon, picked that one up. I haven't opened it yet. I want to get into that one right away. That one was $12, so it was a premium title. So I better get my $12 worth.
Big money.
That extra $2. I definitely want to get that money. And then I picked up a bunch of Lego games for him. Pirates of the Caribbean, Harry Potter, and this one was kind of surprising. It was $10. It's Star Wars 3, so it's the Clone Wars version, the Star Wars Lego that just came out that has all the Clone Wars stuff in it.
Yeah,
so,
that's only been out since like March or April.
Yeah,
something.
it's not that old, and I picked it up for $10, which is pretty damn sweet. And then
I was actually there a few weeks ago, and they still had a bin of games. It was all trash at that point. It was like nothing that was even worth $10, but they still have a lot. But yeah, they're keeping. It's kind of strange because in the case, they still have like MLB The Show 11, and it's $40, which like I don't get that. But they've got Mass Effect 3 in there for $10. They clearly don't have any concept of what games are current.
They had Mass Effect for $10.
Well, you said that they had Mass Effect.
Okay. They don't anymore. Otherwise, I'd own 12 copies and be selling them on eBay right now.
Yeah.
And then the last game, last but definitely least, I only picked this one up because my son really wanted it because he likes the movie, and that is Megamind Ultimate Showdown. So stay tuned for my full review of this gem. It's so good, in fact, that there's a nice little red tag on the back. I'll see if I can show it to you guys on the camera. It's not going to focus. It's a red tag, kind of like those security tags, but it says remove before microwaving. So that's a nice thing to know. If you buy a game that has a tag, you should remove it before you microwave the entire package, because that might start on fire. Apparently,
it's really for safety.
God, but yeah.
By the way, after your full review, you can send your hate mail to VGPodcasts@gmail.com. Care of Legends.
Exactly. So yeah, I kind of wanted to mention this just so you guys know that look in weird places for game sales. The last place that I would have expected some really decent games to be on sale and some really crappy games to be on sale would be a grocery store. But I picked up some good deals, like the God of Wars. That's a good value.
God of War 3, you're looking at like almost $20 off. What it's retailing at other places. Yeah,
they had 30. It was $30 for the longest time, and I picked it up for 10, which is a good deal. Although we're gonna get to something in the news, which maybe makes it not that good of a deal, but I still feel like I spent some good money on it. And like Lego Star Wars 3. I mean, I looked at GameStop or EB Games, I guess it is up here. I can't even remember what it's called. The game store, the big multinational game store. I went in there and they still had Lego Star Wars 3 for $40. So that was a pretty good pickup on my part. And then all the other ones are for the kids. So if they're not worth more than $10, I don't really care too much. But yeah, it was a good deal. I felt really awesome walking out of a store with like this big stack of games that I'm carrying out. I thought I was going to get like robbed or something because people would have thought they were all like really expensive games, but they're all crap. And they would have been sad that they committed a crime for nothing, essentially. Yeah. But
no, not in this city.
What's that?
They would not have been sad in this city.
No, that
guy's got money, kill him.
Exactly.
We just painted a really awful picture of Winnipeg. Like, let's say somebody's never been here before, the first time they've ever seen this show. Yeah. They don't know like our sarcasm.
Yeah.
And they just take that at face value. Yeah. They don't think that Winnipeg is just like, just this murderer hotbed or something. People just get killed walking out of a store with their son.
Because it kind of is in some areas. So that makes a little bit of sense. Yeah. Okay, so that's going to about do it for what we're playing. We definitely want to get more feedback on what we're doing here. We want to read your reviews, your emails, all that other stuff. So send us email at vgpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll hopefully use it in a future episode of the bonus stage.
Send us hate mail too, because I would love to read that on the show. That I think is really funny.
You like hate mail for some reason?
I think it's hilarious that someone would take the time out of their day to write you a nasty letter. I think it's just friggin' hilarious to me.
Oh, well, good. Send Jeff hate mail. He likes it. He likes it. All right, guys, so we're going to take our first little break, and then we'll get back with our sole review of this game. We might not even take a break after the review. We might go right into news after it because it's going to be pretty short.
Yeah.
But my machine went to sleep. That plays the music, so it's not playing music right now. Sad face. But here we go. This is going to be the first track. Yes, I can do it now. So here we go. All right, guys. Now you can hear me. All right, guys.
Yeah.
That was Knife City by Just Trash by Knife City. I got it backwards.
Actually, no, that was wasn't that Slam Dunk Lifestyle?
I don't know. Maybe.
I think it was.
I'm gonna have to look into that. But it was a track that we played just there at that time.
Played some music. That's all you need to know.
Yikes. Had some tech difficulties. Apparently you guys heard coughing and stuff where you should have heard nothing. So thankfully I didn't say anything nasty about Jeff like I normally do when my mic's turned off, because that could have gotten really awkward.
Not really. I mean, you wouldn't have said anything I haven't already heard.
Okay. Well, it's good to know.
Or at least I hope not.
Cool. All right. Well, let's move on with the show. Let's get into a review of DeadLight. It's a game for the Xbox 360. Costs $15. And Jeff, why don't you tell me your thoughts? What you think about DeadLight?
Well, oh man, it's kind of, first of all, $15. Isn't it 10? It's 800 points, right?
I thought it was 1,200.
It might be 1,200. Actually, you might be right. It actually might be 1,200. Regardless, it's kind of an interesting game. I'm not even sure if we can really call this a review, and more of just us asking each other weird questions, because it's kind of hard to classify. First of all, the first couple of minutes of the game are fantastic. I mean, really gripping stuff. It's nerve-wracking. I just, I love the design of it. It's kind of like if Shadow Complex was only platforming, and just like very, very rarely you shoot and attack people.
Yeah.
That's kind of what this game would be like. But then they've got a really, really awesome art style of the cinematics are kind of this graphic novel, kind of almost moving matte painting kind of thing, which is really interesting. The voices are pretty terrible except for the main character. His voiceover is pretty solid most of the time, but the other characters are kind of rough. And then it's a side scroller, and you have a few different levels depending on what you have to climb over, and it's this post-apocalyptic zombie-esque future, but it's done in what is it, like the early 80s, I want to say.
Yeah, it's something like that. They don't really give an actual date, but it seems with some of the tech that they have there. What we didn't touch on is it's a zombie game as well. So it's like if you took Shadow Complex and mash it up with The Walking Dead is kind of what this game is.
Yeah. But what I really like about the fact that, it's a zombie game, but they call them the Shadows, which is really interesting. They try to take it away from being a zombie, which I found to be actually quite helpful. Because there's so many, zombies, they kind of like rise in popularity and then they go down and then they come back again. And right now we're in like this resurgence of everything needs to have a zombie in it. I believe the Coen brothers are doing a recut of No Country for Old Men with zombies. It's like that popular. It's ridiculous. But what they do is they call them the Shadows instead. And they're zombies. They're out and out zombies, no problem. But just naming them something different actually kind of makes them seem a little bit more menacing than they usually would. They're very rarely do you actually see any detail on them because they are quite obscured in shadow most of the time. And you hear them a lot more. And they're pretty easy to knock down if you fight one. But if you have to fight two, or like God forbid three and you're dead. There's just no, unless you have the gun, there's just no way that you're getting out alive. And a lot of it is just jumping and climbing and monitoring your stamina. And it's really, really fun. And then there's this weird part where at the end of, I want to say the second act or so, you get pulled into the sewer by this guy called the Rat. And I won't spoil it for anybody else after that, but I mean, Lloyd, you're at this part too.
Yeah.
It's really, really strange.
Yeah, like the game started just amazingly. Like the first few levels, or the first few screens rather, that you kind of run through, I'm like, holy crap, this is Shadow Complex with zombies and
just,
kind
you
of
just
like
buy in 100%.
Yeah, like, and it's like a shadowy kind of game, so it's like other games that came out that are very like atmospheric, and it's like, holy crap, just take my money, and I threw my wallet at the screen. And
then you realize that didn't do anything.
And it didn't do anything, and then I was sad. But yeah, so I played it for a while, and I was like, oh, this is great. And then you go through these areas, and you're going through tunnels, and you jump into water. You can't swim, by the way, so you have to lower the water, and then you're running through this little kind of ravine where there's water, and zombies wake up and they're chasing you in the water, and you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. And you jump over
really
things.
Nerve-wracking, like the last minute, right? That zombie's nipping at your heels. You're like, oh my god, I gotta. It's just make it.
Totally. And then you get over this area, and you run past this billboard, and then it's like, okay, the game's over. It's like, oh, okay, that's the demo. Immediately went in and unlocked the game and paid my $15 because it is 1,200 points.
Okay.
And yeah, and then I started playing the game, and it was still really, really good. And then it started getting kind of weird. Like, when you first start the game, you have no weapons. So your only kind of weapons against the zombies is your speed. You can sprint, you can jump, and you can yell. So you might want to...
You can also tackle zombies, too, but you don't actually learn that until a little bit past where it would actually be useful to you.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a yell, which is actually really useful. So you could be on, like, some... I don't know, railroad cars, and there might be a puddle that's being electrocuted. So you start yelling, and all the zombies in the area kind of see you and kind of shamble towards you, and they get electrocuted, which is kind of cool. And shortly after where the demo ends, you get a weapon. Or actually, before the demo ends, you get a weapon. You get an axe, which you can hack people up. It's kind of useless in some ways, though, because you could just sit there and hit a zombie with the axe, and it falls down. And then it gets back up, and you hit it again, and it falls down. And it gets back up, and you hit it, and it falls down. It's like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Then
or I guess you're just about to say what I was just about to say. So
exactly. And then you realize that there's a charge attack. So you hold down the attack button, and it'll do this like crazy over-the-head axe hit. It's like, okay, but my hitting him in the face the first time probably would have lopped his head off. So that becomes annoying because you'll be fighting multiple zombies and you have nowhere to go. So you knock one down, and then you try to knock the other one down and kill it before the other one stands up, and then go attack him and hope no other zombies come. So it becomes really tense.
Well, and the bad thing about that is that you're really only around 4, maybe 5 swings if you're lucky before your stamina is completely drained, and you're totally screwed.
Exactly, because once you drain your stamina, the screen starts getting all blurry. It's like you're having a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, all that stuff is really, really awesome. It's really atmospheric, really tense. There's not a whole bunch of enemies that are coming at you. It's not like you have an Uzi and you're blowing off heads. So it's a different kind of game, and I really enjoyed it. And then shortly after that point, you find a gun, and that's when it starts to all fall downhill. Instead of your puzzles being jumping from one area to another, moving boxes, it's like shoot locks, make things fall, or cap zombies in the head. And then it's right around that time when the game kind of went downhill for me. I didn't really enjoy what was happening, especially once you get to the rat. That whole section is just like, why is this in the game?
It's very bizarre.
Yeah, like you unlock various other weapons, like you unlock a shotgun and a slingshot, and it's like, I don't want to play another game where I have ammo. I want to play a game where I don't have ammo, where I'm actually in a post-apocalyptic world. The story kind of when you first start out, you don't know anything about the story. You're just a guy that lost his wife and daughter, and then as you are playing the game, these really great animated cutscenes happen, and they kind of give you an idea of what happened in the world. And
I love the dream hallucination things. They're really, really well done.
Yeah, and there's a group of people that are attacking you, so you know that in the game there's more enemies than just the zombies. But I kind of really didn't want weapons. It would be nice if I didn't have a gun, because then obviously you're shooting things in the face, and then you run out of ammo, and it's like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, I don't think the gun's a bad thing, but there's no difficulty, right? So you're just like, you just start at a default difficulty. There's no way to up or down, lower the difficulty.
Yeah.
You just have to tough it out. But what they do is when you get the gun, it's also fully loaded, and like, fully loaded twofold. It's not like you just get 6 rounds. They give you 12.
Yeah.
And I used 1 bullet to shoot the lock, and the ladder comes down. Fair enough. Okay, I've got to maybe ration these a little bit more. I only got in one sticky situation where I actually had to shoot a zombie, and got an achievement for it, which is fine. But then a few minutes later, I would say not any more than 10 minutes after I found the gun, I had another full clip that I just found. And I was like, wow, this is like, I feel kind of overpowered now. But I just chose not to use it. However, the fact that I had it there and I could use it made my brazen attempts to be heroic a little bit less impactful, because I still had this crutch I could fall back on that didn't take away from stamina, and it was like, it's pretty easy to aim and shoot a zombie in the head and one shot and they're dead, so it's like, oh, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, and just the fact that you're shooting a gun in a world where sound attracts enemies, there's no downfall from doing that unless you're on a screen with other zombies that haven't seen you yet. But it's not like you're in an area, you're shooting 3 zombies and guys shuffle in from off screen to get you. So I don't know. It's right around the point where the rat happens and you go into his rat's nest, and things change from a really great platformer puzzle solving thing to a Super Meat Boy. You make a wrong step and you die, and it's just and it's so frustrating. And it does the Metroid thing where you have all these great powers and they take them all away from you and then slowly give them back to you. It's not what I really wanted out of this game, which is really unfortunate because the first hour was amazing. This was like one of my favorite games that I had played for a long time. I'm gonna stick with it. I haven't completely beaten it. I will completely beat it, but I've gotten to the point where I feel comfortable saying some words about it anyway.
I will beat it as well, but just like you, I mean, the fact that when you go into the rat's den, and we talk about this a lot so far, but you know what? It's really just kind of a piss off because the game is very promising, and then you get to these parts where there's no way that you can't die, unless you have lightning quick reflexes and some sort of sixth sense where something is going to be there. There's literally there's no way that you can avoid death. And it happens a lot. And that's not a bad thing because I've played games like Super Meat Boy or Fez where, okay, I died, I made a mistake, I'll just go back. And they prompt you to press a button to reload, which is also fine. But if you're going to prompt me to reload and you won't reload until I press a button, make that load instantaneous and just put me back in the spot. But what happens is you press the button and then you wait for another 5 or 6 or 7 seconds for the game to load and put you back. And that is really frustrating because in that rat's den, I probably died around 15 or 20 times.
Yeah.
And every time I've got to sit there and wait for, around 7 seconds. And that doesn't seem like a long time. But when you're pissed off that you died and you died a cheap death, you just want to get back in and right that wrong, and it seems like it takes forever. Yeah,
exactly. That's kind of my opinion as well. Like, if there was instantaneous reload, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. If it was Super Meat Boy where you die and you reappear at the start of that screen or whatever, it probably wouldn't have been as bad. But yeah, when you're dying multiple times, and also the fact that there's areas where you're supposed to shoot things to make things happen. But the art style of the game is everything in the foreground is black, and then things as they get further into the game become light. Your character, you don't have a face because it's all shielded with a hat and other things. And all the enemies and boxes and things that you see are really dark. Well, if you're trying to shoot a little tiny piece of wood that is also like dark gray on black, it becomes almost impossible to see it. Without turning the brightness on your television up. So that becomes annoying at the same time. Anyway, we're talking about all the bad things about this game. It really is decent. And it's something new. It's something that hasn't really been done like this. It's a Shadow Complex seat.
Tequila Sunrise, is that what they're called?
Yeah, I believe so.
Tequila Works or something like that.
Something like that.
They did a really, really good job on this game. And there are a few things that I wish weren't there, but for me, they aren't. And this is different from a lot of other games. They don't piss me off enough for me to stop playing.
Right.
Which is,
exactly.
A saving grace of the game. The game is so interesting to me that even the weird parts and the parts that are a pain in the ass don't motivate me enough to stop. So I'm going to still play it and I will beat it because it's also a really good achievement whoring game as well too, because you get an achievement for doing anything, which is awesome.
And they come fast and furious.
Yeah,
they definitely do.
A few days after you bought the game, I looked and you already had like 140 out of 400. I was like, holy crap, you must have beaten the game already. You're like, I think I'm like maybe an hour in. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I got to get this game just for the achievements.
Yeah, exactly.
$15 for 400 points. I would actually buy achievements like that if they were that easy to get.
You just buy an achievement card at your store and you just load up your account with free achievements.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be a good feature. So the game, not bad. I dig it. I like it. There's some parts in the middle that kind of really made it tough to continue, but I'm still soldiering on, and I really kind of dig it. So that's DeadLight for Xbox 360. It gets a buy it from me if you're thinking about what to do with this game. I definitely have to recommend it. It's something that really hasn't been done before in this setting. It's kind of a 2D side-scrolling zombie survival horror kind of game. It's like various other games, but there's no game that is exactly like it. So something really new and something that really made me kind of excited. So I definitely recommend a buy.
You know what? I recommend trying the demo at the very least, but the thing is, the demo will suck you in, you'll pay the money, and then the game will become a pain in the ass after. I still think it's good enough to soldier through and to buy it. You know what? I really wish it was $10 instead of 15. $10 is an absolute buy. Even with the stuff that's a pain in the ass, $10 is still, it's like, okay, you know what? That's not a big deal. $15 is almost too much to ask, but they come right in under the radar on that one.
Exactly. All right, cool. So that's DeadLight for Xbox 360, $15 or 1,200 Spacebucks.
Spacebucks.
All right, man. Do you want to take a break, or do you want to just go right into our review? That wasn't that long of us talking.
Yeah, you know, I think let's just go into news.
Into news, rather. Okay, cool. So starting off, we got a duo of Mass Effect 3 stuff to talk about. And since I haven't played or beaten the game because I have so many other games on my plate, including this stack of 10 games right beside me, Jeff, why don't you tell us a little bit about Mass Effect 3?
Yeah, so a new DLC was talked about last week, and it's called Leviathan. I'm very, very excited for it. And basically, what is going to happen here is you're going to get to ride a mech at the bottom of the sea, which is pretty rad. So BioWare's Nick Clifford took Kotaku through the cinematic near the start of the DLC, and they kind of just like write out what happened. Shepard was aboard the Citadel interrogating a member of a research team that was looking into something called the Leviathan, which is a mysterious being apparently capable of killing a Reaper. And this DLC takes place somewhere in the middle of the timeline. It's a nondescript, any kind of time during the middle part, the bridge of the game. So I believe we will have to load up some previous saves or start New Game Plus to get it, which is kind of crappy, but I mean, there's really no other way you can do a DLC with the game that ends like this game ends. So some stats, according to Clifford on Leviathan DLC, it'll be around 2 to 3 hours long, probably closer to 3 hours. They said they're shooting for a layer of the Shadow Broker depth, so if anybody has played Mass Effect 2's DLC, Layer of the Shadow Broker, which is probably one of the best pieces of DLC ever made, you're looking at around the same time, which is really, really awesome because that was a really robust piece of DLC. Like I said, it'll take place in the middle of the Mass Effect 3 story, in no specific place in the timeline. There's going to be 3 main combat missions, which will take place all over the universe. There will be new weapons, some of which were previously pre-order bonuses. So if you have pre-order bonuses, you might not get all the weapons that someone who wouldn't have the pre-order bonuses would get, but that's not a big deal. The story begins on the Citadel, but it goes beyond that. It goes all the way to the bottom of the ocean. It will be out on all platforms simultaneously, and it'll be out this summer after the Firefight weapon pack, which actually just came out 3 days ago. And it's going to cost $10. So I'm really, really excited for this. They also released a couple of screenshots, and it looks really cool. Shepard is like sitting in this like bioluminescent mech at the bottom of the ocean, which is pretty badass. I'm really excited for it.
Cool. Sounds interesting. I almost killed my headphones there. I really, really want to play Mass Effect 3. I've been waiting because I got so many other games on my plate, but I really got to pick this one up and just like beat it. Soldier on with my Shepard.
Mass Effect 3 is my game of the year for 2012.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot to beat that game.
It's good from what I've seen, and I'm definitely interested in playing it. And maybe I might even play it on the Wii U. There was some trailers, some off-screen and off-tablet footage, I guess you would call it, that were presented of people playing Mass Effect 3 on the Wii U, and it looks pretty damn good. It looks as good as any of the other versions, and maybe even a bit better from the video that I saw. There's some extra specular highlights and other like really, really nice texture work that I don't remember seeing on my PlayStation 3. The Wii U might be a great system to compete with this generation of consoles for the 6 months before new consoles come out from the other manufacturers.
Yeah, I never thought I'd say this, but the Wii U, the more we see about these hardcore games, it's starting to become extremely attractive to try and like to want to go out and buy one.
Well, especially when
Not
they.
only,
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
no,
but
that's fine.
especially when you look at a game that you've played already, and then you look at how it can be done with a second screen, not like
Yeah,
the lame Xbox second screen, which is impossible to do properly and have it as interactive. But having the second screen on the controller, where your map is always there or your inventory is always there, it's just
yeah.
gonna change the way that you play games. It's not going to really change gaming, but it's definitely going to change the way that you play games, and it really kind of makes me excited for what's coming along with the Wii U.
Yeah, my view on the Wii U has always been it's kind of like bringing the DS into a console environment. Because on a DS, you usually have the top screen dedicated to gameplay, and then the bottom screen, depending on what kind of game you're playing, dedicated to some sort of inventory, map, log screen kind of thing, which has worked really, really well. And the fact that this thing is also your controller, you can just kind of look down at the map, check your radar, tap on your biotic abilities. It's really, really cool. I might actually, well, okay, I'm speaking way too soon, but it's making me want to look into possibly becoming interested in purchasing a Wii U. That's as far as I'm going to take it.
There's about 8 asterisks after that statement.
Yeah. But I mean, the screen cap looked really, really good. The video looked really fantastic. And I'm really excited for the fact that Nintendo is like, hey, you know what? Let's kick the door down on these hardcore games again, because we kind of dropped the ball big time on the Wii and abandoned that audience.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try to bring them back, and stuff like this is definitely going to bring us back.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see some of the stuff that has never been on another console and how it's done with the Wii U. I mean, it's easy enough to make a port of Mass Effect 3 that already exists in 3 other places and then add tablet fanciness to it.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious to see what a new game made specifically for the Wii U is going to be, like that. What's it called? The Zombie U, which is going to be kind of like a survival horror zombie thing. It doesn't exist anywhere else but the Wii U. And if games like that are successful in making me interested and also successful commercially, I'm definitely going to have to own a Wii U, just because there's going to be a lot of really great experiences that are going to be coming down the pipe.
Yeah, people are really talking up that Zombie U, which is actually making me shy away from it. It's like, it seems like it's getting way more press than it deserves for only having a few videos out, but we'll see. It's just a big, like, everything about the Wii U right now is just a we'll see. Do not get too excited for it, but also don't write it off.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So that is Mass Effect Pair of Stories. Let's get into what I like to call Kickstarter Corner. Just for Jeff, because Jeff loves Kickstarter. You've promised me that you wouldn't say anything bad about Kickstarter.
Yes, well, I actually promised that last week, so maybe that offer is now off the table. I will not say anything bad about Kickstarter this week.
True enough.
But we've got a ton of stuff to talk about, and actually some of the stuff here is actually very, very interesting. I just said actually 4 times in that sentence.
Actually, you did.
Awful.
Cool. So yeah, first up is something that I want now. Give it to me now. I don't want to wait for it. And that is the Oculus Rift VR headset Kickstarter. This is something that I had seen id Software's John Carmack talk about a while ago, saying that he was working on with some new VR tech that instead of having just this little tiny screen in front of you, which most VR headsets are, where it projects a screen in front of you, it actually goes from your peripheral vision, so 120 degrees and then like 90 degrees. So when you have the headset on, you can't see black if you're looking at a picture. Like, there's no black around this picture. So they've basically came out and started a Kickstarter for it. They wanted to raise $250,000, which they basically got to $1 million in one day. A lot of people want it. And the funny thing is this isn't even the commercial, like, sell to consumer. Or sorry, this isn't the consumer version of this. This is we want developers to have this hardware in their hands so they can make their games work with it. And they're promising a dev kit for Xbox 360, PS3, Wii U, and also the iOS platform, which is kind of odd. because I don't know how you could plug this into your iPad, but maybe they'll have like something that goes through like one of those HDMI adapters you can get for your iPad. Android, they have support for the Unity game engine and also the Unreal Engine. So it looks like it's going to be like fully supported, but for $350, I think it is $335 or $300 for just the glasses and a copy of Doom 3 BFG edition, which is the first game that's going to support it. I guess a lot of people are really want this, that they're even going to buy the developer version of it.
Well, you know what? I'm actually surprised it's so cheap. $350 is a lot of money for a lot of people. But if you really think about the technology that's apparently behind this, that is just like, I mean, giving it to you for free, basically. I mean, think of how much money they had to spend to patent, build, research, and produce the technology for you to wear this thing on your head and play a game. I mean, it's just staggering. The thing is, we've in not even the video game industry, but just in the future tech industry, have been trying to figure out virtual reality for decades. I mean, I remember when I was 6 years old, I went to the Air Show, right? It had to be 94, I guess. And they had virtual reality video game. It was this shooter. You stood in this raised up platform. It was like this circle, right? And it was probably around 5 square feet, had these massive railings that came up so you couldn't step off of it. And you put on this monster helmet that gave you a headache. You could only play it for 7 minutes at a time. My brother and I played against each other. We spent about 5 minutes trying to find each other, and then 2 minutes trying to figure out how to kill each other. We had these big guns. It was awful. The whole thing was awful. And that was like 20 years ago.
It was called Dactyl Nightmare.
Is that actually what it was called?
Yeah, that's what it was called, because I played the same one, and it was good, and I loved it. And even though I had a 40-pound headset on my head, I still really enjoyed it. Actually, I did it at one of the computer expos here. I used to work them for one of my other jobs. They set up a booth there, and they had this like Winnipeg VR club or something, some like crazy. I wouldn't want to say that I was a part of it back in the day. Like it seemed like the uber like alpha nerds were part of this thing, but they had the guy that actually brought it down to Winnipeg, and we played each other, and I just destroyed him. And after he's like, "Whoa, you're pretty good, sir. You should come and become a member of our team." And I'm just like, no thanks. But it was really cool at the time, and I really wanted to have one of those in my basement. And it was like CGA graphics, like it was horrible, like flat shaded polygons. But just the fact that when you look around, you move your head, the camera view changes, and the fact that you're in another world you can't see the outside world, just made it so awesome. And
you could if you looked down, because it really didn't cover the bottom of your face all that well.
Right.
And I mean, like, you think of it, that thing probably costed easy $100,000 to make.
Oh yeah,
and
easily.
It was huge, and it hurt after a while. You know, like you had your head, like 40-pound hat on. It was really heavy, and it gave you a monster headache because of the eye strain. But it was very interesting. Now that was 20 years ago. The fact that they have like this lightweight thing that's consumer friendly and ready to go and play games for $350 seems mind-boggling to me. I mean, really, really, just like, how the hell did you make it so cheap for us to buy? I mean, are they even really making money off of it? It's very strange. But again, they got funded really, really quickly because a lot of people are like, man, this is the deal of a century, essentially. And it's just very interesting stuff.
And the thing that's really interesting, like I said, like this isn't even the consumer version. I'm sure the consumer version is going to look better. It's going to be $150 or $199, and it's going to come out in a year or whatever. This is just for developers to get access to it. And there's enough people that are stepping up. It has almost 6,500 backers. So there's a lot of people that want this thing. Even cooler is if you watch the video on Kickstarter, it basically has like id Software, it has Unreal, it has like, you name a big game developer that deals in these types of games, and they're basically doing some promo for this company. So it's not just some fly-by-night operation. They were at E3. They actually got a Best of E3 nomination from the E3 Expo crew. So it's not like it's just some guy that decided to make this in his basement. So this will be coming out in the near future. I am really close to actually ordering a pair. I really
Wow.
want a pair. Just to see it, because I had such awesome time with VR, like back in around 94 or 95, whatever, like when you were talking about Dactyl Nightmare. The game
Did you play it also at the air show?
No, I played it at the Computer Expo.
Okay.
So I think it was the same group that ordered 2 units, 2 of the pods, as they were called, to Manitoba. And
the setup was just huge. I mean,
it was crazy.
They must have taken up a space that was like got to be 20 feet long just to house the area that you played in. It was crazy.
It was crazy.
The setup must have been insane for those guys.
And now you have this like little device on your face that does the same thing. If you could plug it into an iPad, like, oh my God, like I could just imagine the type of stuff that you could do now. It would just be so amazing. But anyway, that's a long conversation about a Kickstarter that still has 21 days to go. So if you want to back the Oculus Rift and be part of the 6,000 and change people that have backed it, you can do that over at Kickstarter. Of course, we're going to have links to it. They've already raised 1.6 million. So people are definitely excited about this. And since this is the developer edition, I'm sure that a good chunk of those 6,500 people are developers. So there's going to be games coming out for this thing, which makes it awesome. It comes with Doom, the BFG edition, which is Doom 3, made for the Oculus Rift. So it's an up-resed, upscaled version of Doom 3 with like the full head tracking stuff built in as well. So I kind of just want to play that game anyway. So
the future is now.
I'm so close. If you guys want to kickstart one and send it to me, that would be awesome. No, just kidding. But yeah, I don't want to spend $300 right now, but I kind of do. So I don't know what I'm going to do.
You know what? I mean, it is a little bit pricey because it's like, wow, $350, that's a lot of money. But you think about how much money that cost them to make. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's pennies that you're spending. It's crazy.
Exactly. So anyway, Oculus Rift VR headset will update as it goes along. It's still 3 weeks to go, so we'll let you know if they're successful. Oh wait, they're already successful. We'll let you know how much money they're making.
Yeah.
Speaking of successful Kickstarters that made a lot of money, the OUYA console. The Kickstarter has ended. They had 63,500 people back them on this, and they raised $8.6 million.
A lowly sum, really. When you get right.
I mean, maybe they'll be able to make something.
After taxes, I believe they take home $6,500.
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway, the OUYA console has been funded. They will be delivering OUYA consoles. They promise in March. We'll see if that actually happens.
That's so fast. I mean, first of all, for them to have to produce 6,400 of those consoles.
64,000.
Yeah, 64,000 of the consoles by March just for the backers, and then roll out a public launch of the thing.
Yeah.
Wow. They're really going to have to work hard. But, I mean, they've got $8.59 million to work with. They better be able to do it.
Exactly. I'm really curious to see what happens with this. I backed it because I'm an idiot, and I backed it and bought an extra controller with it as well. So I'm into this one for $150, and it's going to be something that is not going to do anything. I'm pretty much sure of it. But
really. But I thought you were like really into it.
No.
And now you're kind of bummed about it?
No, I wasn't into it at all. I thought it.
Money for it.
Well, because I kind of want it. I want to be. I want to be able to talk about it, right? Like you can't talk about these things by watching YouTube videos. You kind of have to own them, and I want it so that if it is something awesome, I mean, I'll have one eventually in the year and a half after they've finally managed to make the 2,997 other ones before I got my order in.
Yeah.
But there's so many ways that this thing can fail. I mean, it's going to come and it's going to be this little device that runs Android that plugs into your television. So at the very least, you can root it, you can run emulators, you can play other Android games, you can port Linux to it. All that stuff is possible. So at the very least, I'm going to have a great little media center box, a little tiny thing that's the size of a Rubik's Cube that will plug into my television.
I think at the very least you'll have a very interesting piece of tech history.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, not that I want it to fail, because really I think that if this thing does succeed the way they're intending it to, it can bring some very interesting change to the industry that we all love so much.
Yeah, I mean,
having said that, I'm very cynical about the whole thing, because this girl who runs the whole thing, Julie Ehrman, in the video and in her communications, she just has this very, I don't know, kind of like shit-eating grin about her, you know. It's just, I'm not sure if I trust her, you know.
Right.
And not that like $100 or what be about $150, I think, with the extra controller that you get, right? It's not like you're losing a lot of money, and you will, unless they screw you, you will get the box and everything, and you'll be able to do something. You'll probably get $150 worth of value out of it.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, like, you could put it in a MAME cabinet and do emulators on it, which emulators for arcade machines that you do own, and they're in a warehouse somewhere, of course. But I mean, it is going to be functional for something. It might not be what they want it to be, which is their own app store, like the Apple App Store, with games that you buy and use only on your OUYA console. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I was willing to drop a little bit of money into the hat to say, okay, I'm gonna trust you for a bit. Prove me wrong or prove me right.
I think the most interesting thing about this whole OUYA thing is that these developers got $8.6 million basically on an idea. You know, you're paying for an idea. They don't have like a finished box. You know, they have working demo versions. But at the point where you're putting your money in, you're paying them for their idea, which is almost unprecedented. You know, when was the last idea that got nearly $10 million? You know, I've never had a $10 million idea, unfortunately. And this might not be a $10 million idea, but they're at least going to be around for, let's say, another half decade, trying to push this box into the mainstream. Whether or not it happens or not, that's another question, but it'll be very interesting to see them try.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting gamble. I'm willing to take that gamble just in case it's something really cool. It could be nothing, but it's I spent $150. I've spent more than that on Skylanders figures for my kids, which makes me really sad at the same time.
Yeah.
All right, moving on, because my voice is going. A couple other Kickstarters I wanted to really chat about that haven't been funded yet, which haven't been successfully funded yet. There's one called the Bladepad.
This thing is really cool.
Which is a detachable iPhone gamepad. It's for iPhone 4S and iPhone 5 only, because it requires the newer Bluetooth spec, Bluetooth 3, I think it is, or is it Bluetooth 4? I can't remember. I'm trying to look for it, and of course I can't find it. But basically, it's this little thing that you put your iPhone in, and basically it becomes this little tiny slide. Like, it looks like a sidekick almost. Like, you slide your phone up, and it has this little shelf underneath that has a D-pad. It has 4 face buttons. It has 2 analog sticks, and it has 2 shoulder buttons. So it's basically adding a PlayStation 3 controller to your iPhone.
What's really funny is that the iPhone, barring some sort of really big screw up by Sony, the iPhone actually had dual analog faster than any of Sony's handhelds. That's the saddest thing I've ever said. The friggin' iPhone had dual analog before your handheld, Sony.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be coming out. It will be hopefully funded. They're only $14,603 of the required $55,000. They have 15 days left to go, so 2 weeks. So if this interests you, be able to play games with actual physical buttons on your phone. It will work with an iPad as well. So if you just want to use it as a controller, you can sync it to your new iPad that has Bluetooth 4. So it's usable on things other than the 4S and 5. What they really need is Apple to come out with like an iPod Touch that will support Bluetooth 4. The thing is pretty cheap though. It's like $69 or $59. No, $69.
Yeah, $59 is their promotional price. I think they sold out of all 100 of those.
Yeah, they sold out of that one. So you can get, for $69, you can get a gamepad or Bladepad rather, for your iPhone 4S or 5, or for $10 more, you can get the special edition one, which is white. And
is it only for the 4S and up?
Yep. 4S.
Oh, so I can't put it on my 4.
No, it's 4S and 5 because it needs the newer Bluetooth.
Okay.
It's for $10 more, as I said, you can get the special edition version, which is white, and it has green LEDs instead of black and red LEDs of the normal version. So I don't know, if you have a white phone, maybe that's the one you want. But anyway, I'm willing to take a gamble on this one as well. It looks really good. The problem is there's no hooks for this in any of the games, so game developers are going to have to add support for the Bladepad. So this could be a huge success, and you could get 1,000 games that will support it, or it will be like nothing, and you'll get 5 games that support it. I have an iCade, and I love it, but
you have 2.
I have 2 iCades. Yes,
I have to mention the 2 every time because
do you want to buy an iCade? Do you want to buy an iCade?
I do not want to buy an iCade.
So yeah, there's precedent there that developers are supporting a device, but it's not every game, and there's a lot of games out there that I would love to have iCade support that don't. This is going to be yet another device. I really hope this, like, for some reason blows up, it gets posted on some website and people go crazy for it, and they sell 1 million of them so that Apple says, damn, okay, we're going to buy your company, and this is going to be the de facto standard for iOS. It's going to be built in a game center, so if a developer wants to use it, they just have to plug in a couple things, and there you go. I don't see that happening, but if that happened, I mean, it's going to be awesome. Every game, if it supported like physical controls, the iPhone would be the perfect device to have with you at all times. Like, who needs a Vita? Who needs a 3DS?
Yeah.
You have 99-cent apps.
It's a little cumbersome. It seems very thick, you know.
Yeah.
And
it's like stacking 2 iPhones on top of one another.
Yeah, and that's not really a bad thing because, like, you know, my classic iPod, you know, is roughly let's say a time and a third bigger than the iPhone. And that's the limitations of their hardware. You couldn't make that thing any smaller. I challenge you to make that thing smaller. It is phenomenally small as is. But yeah, I wouldn't want one. I would buy one, but I would never leave it on my phone. Yeah. I would only use it if I was going to play a game, which seems very counter-productive of what they're trying to sell. Yeah. But that's just me. I don't like, I bought cases for my phones, and I wear, have them on for a few minutes, and it's like, this sucks. I like the way my phone looks, and I like the way it feels when it doesn't have a case on it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I would, if I bought one of these, I would use it for my iPad, which is super sad, but it would be just a great way to play games with physical controller on that device. I'd still use it on my iPhone or whatever. But anyway, it's not funded yet. It's not anywhere near being funded. It needs 40.
I get the feeling it won't be either.
Yeah. There's only 224 backers. So I wanted to mention it here so that the other few people that are listening to the show right now that are interested in it can go over and back it, or at least post about it and maybe get other people that are interested in it to back it. I really hope this one makes it. I have my doubts, which is unfortunate.
I believe that this product deserves to make it more than the OUYA does.
Oh, really? I do. I wouldn't say that personally, but yeah, I can see why you would say that. So yeah, Bladepad. For $70, you get this really cool iPhone case that also gives you physical buttons to play with, which is great. Next up and last up for kind of Kickstarters that are really cool. This one is not funded either, and I want it to be because this game makes me really giddy for all the right reasons. And that is a Kickstarter for something called The Other Brothers, which is a kind of a redone version of Super Mario Brothers, but it's not Super Mario Brothers. It's not like a remake or anything, but it's a platformer with a short, fat guy with a big mustache and a tall, skinny guy. So it's kind of like Mario and Luigi, but it's done with like sword and sorcery kind of pixel graphics. It looks like super retro, but it isn't. It's like the new kind of pixel art that people are doing now.
Like Fez kind of style thing.
Yeah, exactly. And they only want $50,000. Only. I mean, I only want $50,000. People, give me $50,000, please.
I only want $100,000.
Well, once you get 100,000, you can give me 50, and we'll both be happy. Except for
then
you.
I won't have 100,000 anymore. Yeah, why would I be happy with that?
Well, I'll be happy. Okay,
it's the worst friggin' deal in the world.
It all comes back to me.
You really screwed me there, Hannah.
But yeah, they only have 400 backers. They've raised 13,500 of 50,000. This game looks so good. They've been posting about it and talking about it for a while. For $10 or $15 rather, you get a version of this on your PC or Mac. I believe they're going to be making iOS versions down the road as well. This game just looks really, really good. So
it looks like a lot of fun.
I wanted to mention it, so hopefully it gets funded.
Yeah, when I first watched their intro video, I was like, this is just a terrible video. Why should I give you any of my money? And then I watched it again, and I was like, this is actually probably one of the most genuine asking for money videos I've ever seen in my life. The guy's like, in this room, in this playroom with his kids, he's playing on, clearly what is the worst computer mock-up I've ever seen in my entire life. And he's just sitting there like, hey, listen, I kind of got a dream. I want to make this game. Yeah. Can you help me out? And then, it's like, man, that actually is pretty good. Why don't other people do that? Does every video asking for a Kickstarter have to be this like really well-produced video that looks like it cost $5,000? This guy set up a camera in his room and just talked into it.
Exactly.
I trust this guy just because of that video.
Exactly. And I mean, he's been talking about this for a while, so it's not some guy with an idea. He actually has a version running. It's not finished, and that's why he wants some money, so he could spend the time that is required to make this working.
Yeah.
And good and worthy of someone paying money for it. So do check that one out. I'll post links in the show notes. All right. You've been playing CSR again?
No, that's the outside.
I know, I'm just joking. Okay, moving on. Sony released some news earlier this week, and that is that they're coming out with new collections. We all know about the Ratchet & Clank collection. 3 games of the 3 of the original Ratchet & Clank games are coming to PlayStation 3, up-res and stuff like that. I guess this is a new thing they're doing. They're doing only on PlayStation collections, which is really kind of odd. So they've announced a God of War saga, and they've also announced the Infamous collection.
Yeah, the God of War one really impressed me because you get 5 games, which is insanity.
Yeah.
The Infamous one, because there's only 2 games, is 2, and then of course Ratchet & Clank. The thing that really shocks me about this is that there's no Uncharted. Like, what kind of decision was that made? No Uncharted at all? I
don't understand why they're not doing that. Yeah, Uncharted kind of makes sense to me. Infamous has 2 games, and the DLC, the Festival of Blood or whatever it's called, is almost its own game into itself. It's not as big, obviously, as Infamous, but it's multiple hours for DLC, which is pretty good. God of War has God of War 1, 2, and 3, which I bought for $20 just recently, but I could have waited. And also got God of War's The Origin Collection, which has the 2 PSP versions that have been up-resed, and some bonus stuff and things like that. They're all been remastered. They all have trophy support, all that great stuff. Anyway, the Infamous and God of War collection are coming out on August 28th for $30. So,
great deal.
Good, really good deal. $30 for some really awesome games. Any of those collections, I recommend you buy them all because they're all really, really awesome games. So do check it out if you've been wanting to play God of War and just haven't had a chance. All right, moving on. This is actually kind of interesting. We have a couple Blizzard news items which I wanted to make mention of. The first is that Blizzard has announced that WoW lost 1.1 million subscribers in a quarter.
That's a lot.
Which is crazy because they're now below the 10 million mark, which they've never been below since as long as the game has come out, basically.
Yeah.
And it's below the part where a certain game company won't actually track them anymore. Like they've gotten to a point where no one else can get to, but they're not big enough anymore for this one company. I can't remember the name of the company. I read an article about it, but they're like, oh yeah, we're not going to track that anymore because they're below 10 million. It's like, what? They have 10 million people playing the game still. Well, they have, 9 million people playing the game. That's a huge amount. No other MMO has anywhere close to that,
it's crazy.
Which is really bizarre. But anyway, they lost 1.1 million subscriptions. And they're saying that it's not the Mists of Pandaria, the Kung Fu Panda add-on that is going to be coming out this year. It is... it's because of Diablo, is what they're saying. People stopped playing WoW to go play Diablo 3. So
you know what? Which makes sense, but here's my view on it. It is because of Diablo, but it's also because World of Warcraft sucks. It's so old. I mean, the game looks old. It plays old. it's, they do release expansion packs and people love that kind of stuff, but the fact is the game hasn't fundamentally changed in since 2008, I want to say. So what is that, 4 years going on 5 years? That's a long time for the game to just be the same thing. And if you've been in it since 2005 or whatever, what the hell else is there for you to do?
Well, I wouldn't say the game wouldn't change. I mean, the game has been evolving for as long as it's been out there. They added things. They added PvP. They added arena combat. They keep adding stuff. They added flying mounts. They added new areas to explore. Like they're definitely giving you enough content for your money. Mists of Pandaria, which is another race in the game, which looks like Kung Fu Panda characters. Really odd. It's addling. Wow. Jeez. I can barely talk because of my throat and also because I can't pronounce words, apparently.
We've only got a few stories left.
Yeah, exactly. There's a full pet battle system being put into this, which is just like, what? Who wants that? But apparently people do.
So strange.
And it's going crazy. I mean, this is probably... I would go almost to the point where this is probably the most successful game of all time.
I think without a doubt it is.
I mean, it's had the most money spent and probably the most man hours wasted on a single video game, except for maybe like Solitaire. That might top it as far as time wasting goes. I mean, a Minesweeper as well. I mean, the game is great. Like, I don't want to say WoW sucks like you did, because I would never say that, but apparently you think that, so that's good. That's you. That's on you. Send the hate mail to Jeff. That's fine.
That's fine. VGpodcast.com, care of Jeff Ward. I've always thought it's a stupid game. But here's my only defense is that I've never enjoyed games that are of that perspective, right? Where it's like a third-person game where you click to attack. Your character really almost acts independently of you, which is why I don't play Diablo and other games of that sort. I don't play any of the... I played Old Republic for a while, but it's like I don't feel like I'm actually playing the character. I feel like I'm loosely instructing them to do something, and it's kind of their own volition if they want to do it or not. And I hate the art style of World of Warcraft. I've always hated it.
I love it. I think it's really, really awesome. But I like that kind of stuff. I like the retro cartoony kind of look, which makes it look really good. So anyway, they lost 1.1 million. They're saying it's because of Diablo 3. I don't know if that's true. They say it is, so I have to kind of believe them. I just don't see Diablo 3 existing for as long as WoW. It's not something that I play anymore. Like, it's got to the point where inflation has hit, so things are becoming progressively more expensive faster than I can play the game to gain the gold to buy them. So I can't really progress with my characters because I can't buy the items that I want anymore. The game is made for people that spend all day playing Diablo, which is great, and I can't fault them for that, because if I could spend all day playing a game, I would. Unfortunately, I'm an adult that has kids and a job, so I can't do that anymore. There was a point in my life.
Excuses.
There was a point in my life where I would be doing that. I used to play Ultima Online obsessively. Like, it was crazy the amount of time that I spent playing Ultima Online. So I would play Diablo that way. And they're coming out with a patch right now to kind of fix Diablo because they realize that there really isn't an end game to how it is. They want to balance it a little bit and stuff like that. So if they lost 1.1 million people to Diablo 3, I could see a lot of those people falling off and just not playing Blizzard games for a while until something new comes out. So hopefully that's not the case. But anyway, WoW is still super popular. 9.1 million people.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Paying at least $12 a month. Like, if you pay 6 months at a time, I think it's $12 a month, all the way up to $15 if you're buying a month at a time. That's a lot of money coming in each and every month.
Well, if you down further in the story, Activision posted a income of over $1 billion for the quarter.
Yeah, poor guys.
That's out of control.
Only that. I mean, how in this day and age can you live with only making $1 billion in 3 months?
The short answer is you can't. I mean, there's just no way.
Just pack it up, guys. It's over. The free ride is over. The gravy train has set and gone.
You're gonna have to get another job.
Exactly. You have to make another game that also makes $1 billion to kind of make ends meet. So you can rub your $1 billion together, just like I used to pennies. And it would.
It's the same thing now.
Exactly. To follow up on that, there was news yesterday that Blizzard posted that they had a huge intrusion, so huge, in fact, that they think that the username and password files for all of the U.S. customers have been downloaded. Email addresses for all of their customers have been downloaded, and data regarding the authenticator. So what that is, I don't know. They didn't really get any more specific. So that's a huge thing. So what they want everybody to do is, if you have a Battle.net account, go change your password. If you use that same password on Battle.net as you use other places, change it in the other places as well, because while all that data is encrypted, there is a chance that they will be able to decrypt it and they'll have your username and password. So huge, like 10 million people, all their data, it's probably more. It might be 15 million. Like, who knows how many people at one point have created a Battle.net account? Maybe even more, because there's not just World of Warcraft. There's Diablo 3. There's StarCraft. Diablo 1 or Diablo 2 rather. You had Battle.net accounts for as well. So this is a huge intrusion.
Mm-hmm. The good news is they do say that they didn't get any of the financial data, which is a little bit, you know. Yeah, it'll calm you down a bit, but it still sucks to have, like, you know, you got to go change your passwords and stuff, because if you're like me, you've got one password for everything, and you know you have to change your password. Don't
do that, dude. What, Jeff? Really? No. Buy one password. Buy an application. You're a Mac user. It's called 1Password. It's like the best $30 you'll ever spend. There's iPhone apps.
$30.
What's that?
Too much
for security, for not ever having to remember a password again.
You know, it is too much.
No, it's not. I will give you $30 so you can have this. It is an application that everybody must have. We'll talk off camera and off podcast about it, but basically it's an application where you just have to remember one password. To get into it, it encrypts your password files, and then every time you go to a website that needs you to log in, you hit Command Tab or a backslash, and it basically fills in all your information. So you can have like I do. I have like 30 character passwords with special characters, numbers, letters, uppercase, lowercase, and everything. I don't ever have to remember those. And the nice thing is it syncs to Dropbox too. So if you get a new computer, you just install Dropbox, install 1Password, and all your passwords are there. Don't do that. Don't have 1Password. Have 1Password, but don't ever have just 1Password.
Are you telling me that it's okay for me to have 1Password? I'm not sure if we're hearing each other.
The application with quotes 1Password is good. Having 1Password is bad. Very, very bad. Okay,
because I have 1Password, but I don't have 1Password.
Yes. Who's on first?
It's a freaking Abbott and Costello routine.
All right, moving on. Beyond passwords, EA is suing Zynga. Finally, someone stepped up and said, "You've copied games. You've copied one game too many. You've crossed the line. You've broken the camel's back." Yeah. So EA has finally sued them.
I don't understand how they've gotten away with it for so long. I mean, first of all, they're just such blatant ripoffs. I mean, Tiny Towers, you know, and then Zynga's Dream Heights I'm reading here. I mean, it's just, there's just no way that you can not see that these are the same games. And like The Sims, obviously, where, you know, it's a monster franchise, and then Zynga comes out with The Ville, and they're like, oh, well, nobody. No, EA is the kind of company that's like, hey, this shares a small resemblance to our to our game.
It's not a small resemblance. It is
this is the same thing.
It's start your photocopiers kind of resemblance. So the suit that EA has filed basically targets Zynga, saying that they have they've repeatedly copied other games and not paid the original developers for that. I guess the game that kind of broke the camel's back was The Ville, which just came out by Zynga. It it really closely resembles The Sims Social, which is EA's kind of social freemium version of The Sims. Really interesting in this one is they're actually referencing other games by other manufacturers in the suit. So they reference Tiny Tower, was copied by Zynga and became Zynga's Dream Heights. There was Bingo Blitz by Buffalo Studios, which became Zynga Bingo. And they've even gone down to say that even Farmville was a copy of another game that existed on Facebook at the time. And for some reason, that's the game that people played, and then Zynga became huge because of it. So yeah, it's really awesome because I don't like what Zynga's doing. Their stock took like a huge dive. It's worth like next to nothing now. It started at about $20. I think it's worth like $7 or $8. Maybe it's broken 10 again or something. But yeah, like Zynga's hurting, which is good because they steal everything.
They're probably one of the worst companies in all of gaming. I mean, they're vultures.
Exactly. Like all the way down to the skin tones. Like EA went in and said, in the Sims Social, we have a selection of 8 skin tones. The exact same RGB values are being used in the Ville as they are in the Sims Social. So like, it's terrible. There was a great infographic that was put up. I don't have the link here. I'm gonna have to try to get it for the show notes, where they basically compare every single game that Zynga's put out and what it is basically a dupe of. And it's like every idea that they come up with is another game that already exists, pretty much. There's obviously some exceptions. There's like the Indiana Jones one, which is licensed Indiana Jones, and it's similar to their other games, but not a direct copy. There's other ones, but some of their biggest games that they get behind are just no more than a reskin of something else.
Yeah, I mean, they're just out and out ripping these games off. I mean, there's just no other way. Oh, you know, no, like you're just ripping the game off without question.
Exactly. Clay in the chat room says, didn't the Zynga CEO step down? It wasn't the CEO. I believe it was the COO. So not Mark Pincus. It was another guy. So it's the guy that's more financial. And I guess he stepped down probably because the stock is just doing nothing. But Mark Pincus, he's the owner, the guy that created Zynga. He's still there, and he owns a house that's worth like $100 million. And there was pictures posted today online about what copying games can do for you. It can get you $100 million a mansion in like LA or wherever he is, San Francisco, whatever.
Yeah, in the wrong business, man.
We got to start copying things. Let's
copy Mario or something.
Let's copy like other podcasts. So we'll do like This Week in Tech, but we'll call it something just a little bit different. But I'll dress up like Leo Laporte, and I'll talk with a really like radio-ish voice. We'll see if that works.
Awesome.
All right, moving on. Skyrim DLC Dawnguard is finally shipping for the PC and will ship soon, they say, for the PS3. It's not out yet, but it will be out, and that's about all they're telling us. So if you've been waiting for that one, it'll be coming out, and as Jeff has said in his review, it is probably one of the best DLCs he's played in a long time. So I'm really excited for that one, actually.
Gives you a reason to go back into Skyrim if you didn't already have 20 million reasons to go back in for another 20 hours worth of gameplay.
Yeah.
You know, not the best story, but just the amount of cool stuff you can do and the new interesting locations, totally worth the price of admission.
Yeah, totally. I cannot wait to get it. Anyway, moving on, last and not least, I guess, last story for today. There was a kind of a snafu on the Xbox Live Marketplace where just all of a sudden one day, which was August 9th, or I believe it would have been August 8th where this happened, for a period of time, every item in the store just had real dollar values associated with it. So instead of 400 space bucks, it was $4.99. Instead of 800 space bucks, it was $7.99, or $9.99, I guess it would be. And Microsoft quickly fixed this and then issued a press release, or I guess an email to Joystick. It said, today a few avatar items appeared with the option to purchase for local currency instead of Microsoft points. This display error doesn't signal a change in our payment options, but rather an error in how the offers were configured on our services, which resulted in an inconsistent experience. It is in the process of being resolved. So there's been a rumor for a while now that Microsoft has been pressured to get rid of Xbox points, like their Xbox Live points.
I definitely don't think it's been a rumor that they've been pressured, because everybody hates that system.
Yeah, but I think it's more of a government type thing where they're saying you're holding money of people's, but you're not telling them how much money you're holding of them. You if someone has like 30 Microsoft points, what is that? Like what's the actual real dollar value? I think it's more something to do with that. So they've been talking that in the future, everything will just be real money. And obviously with this little snafu, apparently it's already been built into the system. They just have to flip a switch somewhere. So maybe in the near future that'll happen, or maybe it'll never happen. But anyway, it was a cool little thing that happened up on Xbox if you happen to be on the marketplace at the time when that little thing happened.
I think what Microsoft was really worried about is that people were now getting to see the dollar value of how much they're getting ripped off for all the stuff they buy for their avatars.
Yeah.
I mean, because that stuff is worthless, and I don't know why people buy it or what the draw is.
Yeah.
But you are literally throwing your money away.
Stop, please, people. If you're listening and you do that, don't buy horse armor for your horse in Oblivion, and don't buy like t-shirts and ripped jeans for your avatar. I just don't get it. I was almost, to be honest, I almost bought like Halo things, and also I almost bought like the lightsaber because I thought it would be really cool, and then I came to my senses and said, this is in no way a video game. I could draw like a paper lightsaber and tape it to my screen, and it would be just the same thing, except now I have a physical piece of paper I can put on other things.
It's so frustrating. I mean, like the stuff that I have on my avatar for Xbox Live is stuff that I unlocked in game for free or was given a promotional code for. I have never bought, like Tom, we did the radio show with. He bought a lot of stuff on the avatar. He's like, well, I already had like 80 points lying around. Like, you're still an idiot. Like, there's just no way around it. You're an idiot if you buy any of that stuff. It's just so worthless.
Yeah,
like,
it's a waste of money.
Throw your money out the window, because that's literally what you're doing. It's just ridiculous.
And I understand that people want to customize, and I appreciate that. It's the reason why some people will buy a fancy case for their iPhone that has like encrusted jewels or has their favorite sports team on it, like I used to have.
At least you have something physical you can hold.
Yeah,
right.
That's the difference. This is like customization is nice, but you're paying like real money. Like one of my friends on Xbox, I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to embarrass this person because they might listen to the show. Like every time I look, they have new clothes on, and I'm like, dude, you don't even change your real clothes that often. Like I've seen that same tired old t-shirt for like 10 years. Why are you changing and buying new t-shirts for your avatar? I don't get it. It's like a Wall-E type thing where he just wants to live in the game, I guess, and I don't get it. But anyway,
like when you really think about it, you just spent $2 on a line of code.
Yeah, on bits. It's like ones and zeros.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, bizarre. Anyway, maybe Microsoft will be changing to real money in the future. Maybe they won't. But we wanted to talk about it because it was kind of interesting the way those things happen. All right, man.
That's it.
I can barely not talk anymore, and I can barely not talk anymore, and I can barely not talk anymore. Yeah, I can't even put proper sentences together. That's how bad it's gotten. My throat is raw. What do you say?
Glad that we're done.
We are done. We want to hear from you guys. Head on over to vgpodcast.com. Let us know how we're doing. Send us an email at vgpodcast@gmail.com or call our voicemail line, which is area code 505-VG-Podcasts. Yeah. Jeff, thanks, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Unfortunately, not many people showed up to the live show today because of some snafus that we had over the last couple of weeks. So rest assured, every week we will do this unless we don't. And then we will hopefully warn you that we're not doing it for that week so you don't show up.
What a roundabout way of telling people that, hey, we'll let you know what happens.
We will try to let you know before we do not do something that we said we were going to do. But we will do it every week, except for the weeks we don't.
Yeah. We have to stop right now because it's just getting worse and worse.
I'm so tired. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to yet another the bonus stage on the VG Podcast Network at vgpodcast.com. We do a lot of shows. Check out all of our other shows that we do. Touch of Gaming, which is iPad and iPhone. We do this one. I do Nintendo Pulse sometimes with Edgar First when he shows up, and we've had have time to do the show together. We do that as well. So check it out over at vgpodcasts.com. All right. we'll talk to you guys next week.
See ya.
I'm going to play a really great track for you guys. It's a funk remix of a Star Fox track. We were going to play it during one of our breaks, but we didn't take a break. So we'll play a couple minutes of this as we fade out and go get some water. So we'll talk to you guys next week. Prepare to get all funky with Star Fox, which should be playing right now, but it is not. There it is. All right, man. Take it easy.